Living Waters, and we'll introduce them as they come up. And we also have, and he is a hydrocolotherapist, right? Colonics, if you guys don't know about that. So he'll be speaking as well. And then lastly, we have Kathy, who is part of, David, is she here? Kathy? I don't think she's here. She's going to be talking about 5G. And so one of the hidden toxins that we're seeing now become a major thing that we want to address. So I'm going to run through some slides of what not to do. And then Dr. Newsom is going to be giving you the specifics on why detoxing and the anatomy of what systems specifically are involved with detox, and then the physiology on what to do to detox. And so he's going to go specifically into that. And he has a book. I put all his supplements up here, Detox for Life. And if you guys don't know about him, he is a celebrity in our town because he was in The Truth About Cancer, which is a documentary which I'm sure he'll speak of. So first and foremost, I'll go ahead and get you started with some of the things that we have up here. We have lots of samples of different things that you can start implementing and then what not to do. Here is a display we have in our office continuously. And so this display is just something that you can come and look at afterwards. So we call them the 5 essentials in our office. We talk about removing interferences. And so everything from the mindset, so all this right here, the mindset interferences with the nervous system, interference with toxicity, interferences with nutrition. So we're gonna kind of summarize everything today, but just in general, it's going back to remove those things that don't allow the body to function the way God intended. And so when we look at nutrition, up here you have, what not to do, then you have maybe some samples of what to do. So eat this, not that kind of a thing. So you can come look at it afterwards. We also have products that are toxic, and so you can come and look at, these are no-brainers for some people, but sometimes I had a patient said, so Clorox is bad for you. And so we sometimes don't even know some of these things. And sometimes we take it for granted that some people still think that Diet Coke is good. You know what I mean? So we don't want to, just remember, everybody's at a different level. So we're going to go from the simplest things to the most extreme that we're seeing, kind of like 5G or heavy metal toxicity and those things that are a big problem in today's world. And so, but I never want to disregard the fact that everybody is at a different level walking in here, okay? And then we also have, of course, some natural products that you can use. So again, I have over here some samples of what to do when it comes to getting some changes in your household. So where's my little, did I lose mine?
Clicker.
Thing. Oh, here it is. All right, so our purpose again in our office is again to remind you that your body has an ability to heal. And I never leave, some of you may be offended, but I don't really care. I never leave God out of the center. He's at the center of our office. And we trust in that power that made the body heals the body. And so we honor that. And so we have an ability to heal from within and detox from within. And so I love this verse, 1 John 4:4 says, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. Because out there we've been taught that somehow our bodies are weak and we're unequipped and that we can't heal. But the reality is that he put a power within you that's never left you until the day you die. And that soul then goes to him, right? So this is where what we do with our bodies right now, it's our responsibility. He heals, but we're also responsible to do the things to try to remove the things that are creating the disease. Because I don't have to give you statistics, but most people right now are dying from cancer, these kind of things that are creating toxicity in our lives. So, but it has to start first, number one, with mindset. So the biggest, I think, toxin in our world right now is what?
Media.
Fears, yeah, stress, yeah, watching, yeah, media, and so this is the biggest issue. So this is not a mindset talk, but I think the number one thing is, number one detox thing is get on your knees and pray, remember that surrender to him, and in all things, he will be there. And so trusting in him. As a chiropractor here in my office, I just want to run by why we always look at mindset first. So it's this alignment, but then the alignment of the physical body. And so sometimes people go to chiropractic for musculoskeletal issues. And if you're a patient in our office, you hopefully by now realize this is so not that. That the main thing we adjust you for as patients to remove interference to what? To what? The nervous system, yeah. So you guys know, people like you that have been here for years, that the main reason she's still here in your how old are you?
Oh, 73.
73, and I have patients who are, Joyce here, who are in their 90s. The reality is a lot of our patients here have come here continuously understanding that the main reason we adjust them is to remove interference of the nervous system, which governs every cell, tissue, and body, and even your lymphatic system and your immune system that we're going to talk today about as far as clearing. So for your heart to beat, for your lungs to breathe, everything has to function. So when you have symptoms, most people are, very likely to either do what? One of two things: either ignore the symptom or cover it up with what? Another toxin, which is a drug. And there's a time and place for drugs, but the reality that is not going to help assist the body to remove the interference. So the number one thing, that even if you put all the right things in your body or you detox, what allows your body to, your liver to function? What allows your gut to function? What controls everything? Your nervous system. You cut the nerve that goes to your heart, what happens? It stops. You know what I mean? It's that logical. But we have more faith in an outside-in thing. It's like what we do. But remember, what heals you? God. So he put a power within you that heals you that resides where? I mean, your heart beats because what? Your brain tells it to. So really, what that life, that power, you can call it whatever you want to call it. You can call it electrical conduction of sodium potassium pumps, but there is a power within you that heals you, that runs through your nervous system. And if you cut, Christopher Reeve, he cut his spinal cord, and what happened to him? He was paralyzed. Luckily, man went in there outside in and put, pacemaker, respirator, all that stuff, outside in. But what did he die of after 9 years? He had heart failure, he had pulmonary failure, he had gut issues. They would pump his system every day because he couldn't do it. Because outside in, man did amazing stuff to keep him alive, but was he healing from the inside out? So that's where we gotta understand with chiropractic, it's a whole different bug, but people have never been taught that what we adjust is removing interference to what? Your nerves. And who heals? Yeah, it's not us that heal you, your power, that power that's already within you. So this is where, again, that's the main thing we want to check. But when there's subluxation, so this is the number one toxic in the nervous system, is subluxation. So this is a normal MRI of the spine. You see the spinal cord, there's no pressure on it. You see that white thing? No pressure. Phase one is when we start losing that biomechanics. When the head goes forward, you lose that spinal curve. And it starts putting pressure on it, and that's subluxation. It starts to interfere that. You see that little bulge? The problem is at this phase, there's still no what? There's no pain. So people typically, live kind of like a clogged artery. You have no clue that's there until when? Till you get the heart disease. And so this is the body's resilient. But over time, see those discs start to wear out. Now you get the herniations. Now you get the pinched nerve. And now that symptom like arm numbness or leg numbness occurred. But watch, those nerves go to all your what? Like here in the low back, they go to your gut. So how is that functioning? or maybe your thyroid. And then you go to the doctor and you go get checked for those things, and then what? Typically it's a
medication,
a drug, and if that doesn't work,
surgery.
it's another drug typically, and then it's finally, ma'am, you need that organ, let's just cut it off. And again, God doesn't make junk, guys, and so this is where in our office is about reminding you that we got to remove that interference. And so this is where I'm going to show the little videos, but like you take a kid right here, you see how he's lost that curve. You know, we start lining the spine, but showing our patients what you do to get these curves back to actually correct the structure, kind of like this one here that had seizures. So this was his before, and now here it's taking pressure off of that brainstem. So again, his seizures go away, but did I heal him? No. We just removed the interference and God did the healing. And that's what we remind you. And this is, you know, I typically show these videos, but for time's sake, I'm just, you know, no more seizures, playing football. We call it football in Spanish, but it's soccer. Doing the things that he's supposed to do as a kid instead of being pulled out of school saying that he can't be on the team or on antidepressants. And that's not God's ways, guys. And so this is where when we see these things, that's what it's about. So I'm always going to ask when people come here, you know, have you been checked for subluxation? And if you haven't, why haven't you? You know what I mean? And so we make this possible. This is where if you have never been to a chiropractor to actually get checked for subluxation, not pain, but subluxation, we would want to make sure you get checked. So this is where we give you the opportunity, and the beautiful opportunity this time of year is that all I want is a stinking coat. I want 500 coats for Christmas for kids. And all you have to do is see all these coats. People have been bringing coats so they can get checked. And that's all I want. And that's where I want to make sure you get checked. And so if you are going to want to do that as a guest here, we give you this packet here where on the very front you put your name, you put your, you know, the date you want to come, or, you know, we can have you circle it. My staff will call and confirm. But by the way, when you fill out this thing, because we're going to invite you to some other classes, but we're going to do a raffle at the very end. He's going to give out some books, so you may want to even fill it out whether you are not going to, whether you're a patient or a guest. But you put your name, you put your contact number, and you circle the time that you would want to come in and get checked, and then my staff will call and confirm that. So, and then just really simple things here before Dr. Newsom comes here. I'm just going to go really quickly through these, okay? So this is not for just to get you aware. He's going to talk about how crazy toxic we are. But think of it as a bucket. Our body, again, is meant to have toxins come in. We have a liver. She's going to talk about kidneys, lymphatic system. But what happens with our world is that we're, like from the very beginning, mom's toxins come into pregnancy, then you have vaccines, and you have medications, and you have McDonald's, and you have, you know what I mean? And so the bucket can only tolerate so much, and then finally the bucket spills over. Then when do you have symptoms? Till it already spills over. Does that make sense? And then most people, again, run to the doctor and they get more toxins instead of running to health and finding out why I got sick in the first place. So just, you know, our point here is to minimize. So he's going to talk about how to get them out of your body, but minimize. So we have like storage containers, like really quick here. So like instead of plastic, use glass. Instead of a formaldehyde nonstick pans, use a cast iron or stainless steel. Some of this, again, some people have already done these changes, but some of you have not. Stainless steel water bottles or cups. If you're going to have glassware, please don't get them from China. I'm going to be very honest with you. Very toxic. So made in the USA, you know, the paints have lead. I'm going to just run through some of this thing. He's probably going to talk about lymphatic system and brushing your lymph nodes. I don't know if you guys know that, but if you have clogged funnels, he's going to talk about that. You want to make sure you talk about brushing over there. I'm just going to go through all these kind of things. You have castor oil packs. Use castor oil on your liver and use a heat pack to heat it up. A lot of these I have given you some like recipes for juicing, coffee enemas, We have so much content here, guys, but please start somewhere, and he'll tell you how to start and where to start. We have a coffee enema kit here that you can come and it's washed, by the way, but if you're going to use a coffee enema, make sure it's a stainless steel one, and you can ask me questions or Dr. Newsom using organic coffee. And again, it's this is the one, the samples. You can do Epsom salt baths to detox, so there's so many options. When it comes to all the toothpaste, deodorants, we gave you a recipe, I think, in the book, in the little packet. But there's some options there. You can make your own with baking soda, coconut oil, and arrowroot, and then you just add an essential oil. We have cast steel soap and soaps that you can use, samples that are non-toxic, dryer, little woolly things, I don't know what they're called. Yeah, there you go. When my kids have tummy aches or whenever they have any kind of headaches or anything like that, we use these little things that, by the way, the number one toxic thing is microwaves, get them out of your house, but we put it in the garage so we can heat these little things. And then, so 30 seconds, but with some kind of a peppermint, or if they have a headache or whatever, we adjust them, and then we do that. Kathy, is she here now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, she's probably going to talk about EMS, but we have these little monitors that check to see, so you can be aware of how much EMS your stove puts out, your refrigerator, or even your sauna. I have a sauna, and guess what? I'm detoxing, but then it puts all these EMS on. It's like, oh, I don't know, I'm doing good or bad here. So, I mean, you can only you have static electricity. She'll probably talk about, hopefully. So these are things that you can stop some of the static electricity. We even have an air quality monitor. I actually turned it on, and it's actually very good in here. Of course, we've aired this place out for years and had air pure, kind of like a filtration that we use at home too, but it clears out the air in your room from the VOCs and all that. Again, there's kind of things you can put in your, what's it called, the faucet? The shower head. This one has vitamin C cartridges and filters. George brought another one that he has that has a carbon filter. Gosh, what is it there? And then of course, we love this drug freedom trash can. We have another one in the back, but people get to the point where they're tired of so many stinking drugs. So they get where they start minimizing these things little by little by making these changes. So we have success stories with that. I think Gary brought these. These are foot patches for your feet. I mean, there's foot ionizers. I can go on and on and on, okay? So the thing is there's so much that you can only do one thing at a time. If I were to just say with food, just get rid of all the chemicals. I mean, if you guys did the Halloween thing, which we don't do, but the fact is that's just junk, but then everything that's added to it, go back to God food versus man food. If you're just starting, then there's different phases. We talked about the meds, toxins in your home, personal hygiene products, pans, just one thing at a time. This is that deodorant recipe, which I think I put in your packet. Microwaves, xenoestrogens, if you don't know that, he's probably going to talk about that, but these are affecting our hormones. They mimic estrogen, which create issues with our hormones. If you guys don't are aware of glyphosates and GMOs, I mean, that's a class in itself, but glyphosates, I'm sure he'll touch on that. And I think lastly here is just start somewhere, and he'll talk about juicing. I'm actually going to bring some juice in. I brought a juicer, and this is what we juice on a weekly level. On the weekends we do juicing. We don't do it during the week. But this is how much you juice in one day of juicing. Okay, so I mean, that's how I was going to juice it, but George didn't bring the little thing that makes it go like that. So blame it on him. But we brought you juice from the juice company. But adding raw vegetables and then some good, like eggs, cholesterol, and the egg yolks have a lot of the good properties to allow your liver to detox. We use binders. I know that he'll talk about that. But we use G-Cell and Bind. Lastly here is like root canals and heavy metals that come from vaccines and dental amalgams. So that's a talk in itself. I do a lot of neurotoxicity work here. That's a big piece of my office that I do. But when you have sometimes like symptoms of irritability, anger, and all that kind of stuff, chronic fatigue, those are typically signs of heavy metal toxicity. So you want to make sure you address those. But right now, the number one thing that's causing this that is not from amalgams is vaccines. And I'm hoping, Dr. Newsom, you touch on that because that is a big thing that's coming up with the COVID vaccine. And I'm part of Health Freedom Idaho. I'm on the board, and that's what we fight for every day for your freedoms. And we're constantly fighting. We just brought Dr. Andrew Wakefield. I brought him, and Dr. Judy. I made sure that they were here, and because it's important that you guys understand this stuff. And then, so this is the testing we do for heavy metals and some of the stuff that we use. And so that's basically it. Lastly, with the 5 essentials is exercise. Sweat is going to be key in detoxing. So if you don't have a sauna, go work out. You guys hot now in here? No? Okay, so you're going to sweat probably. Okay, sweat releases toxins. And David DeHaas, I keep calling you doctor, but you might as well be because you know so much. So, but he's going to talk about like specifics with leaky gut and issues with the gut. And so Dr. Newsom's also going to talk about that and what to do with that. And then lastly, guys, I brought samples here of probiotics. I know people always want the pill. I like live food. So when it comes to like making your own bone broth, but even Keto Fire has bone broth where we do a lot of implementation of bone broth. You can, it's not heated, but you can try them if you want. Try anything up here before you leave. You have sauerkraut, of course. If you guys don't know what kimchi, or we have gut shots of different flavors. Okay, very good probiotics. You have even sriracha that you can try on these grain-free chips, and kombucha. So try some of this stuff. And then lastly here, so the probiotics hybrid. Okay, so I think there was going to be a Berkeley filtration, but you guys know what Berkeley is, or use a reverse osmosis. I have a reverse osmosis at my house, so make sure that you're doing that. And then she's going to talk on all these EMF things. So, all right, so let's talk about detox. So, Dr. Newsom, you're up.
Hi. Great.
Give him a hand.
Oh my goodness, guys.
Well, hello. Hey, so we're talking detox today. I want to give you a couple of things real quick. Just some notes on what Dr. Rosie said. For every 50 pounds of body weight you have, your microbiome drinks 16 ounces of water per day. Not you. I'm talking about the bugs in your gut. Okay? So, who drinks first? The bugs or you? The bugs. Okay, so 50 pounds equals 16 ounces. Okay, I need to drink a lot of water. Anyways, I'm Dr. Dan Newsom, and I've been here for almost 14 years. And everyone says, Doc, you're like the Idaho's best kept secret. And we didn't really try to stay a secret. We just got so busy taking care of people, we've never had time to advertise. So we've been here for a long time. We kind of made a big splash with the truth about cancer and the truth about vaccines, and my buddy Ty Bollinger and all that. And that was all pretty interesting. And I was actually kind of scared to work with them because we were kind of comfortable, kind of hidden out in Nampa where we used to be, And all of a sudden we had yeah, after my first appearance on The Truth About Cancer, we were contacted, we had 40-some thousand people email us.
Oh my.
And it took us like 2 months to dig out of it. It was crazy, 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 crazy. Click right here. So, here we are. Toxicity. Toxicity. Before we really talk about toxicity, let me just give you one thing real quick. Toxins and nutrients are in this competitive race, right? Where you have nutrients, you don't have toxicity. Where you have a lack of nutrients, you can't help but have toxicity. Okay? I call people walking sponges. Okay? Before we get into this, how I explain to patients is water. Water is what we call a adhesive liquid. If I took water in my fingers and splattered it on the window, some of the water would stick to the window, wouldn't it? All right. If I took a 5-gallon bucket and sterilized it, I put distilled water in it, we stick it out in the road out here, and we leave it out there for 6 weeks. What do you think that butter would take? It'd be super dirty, wouldn't it? 6 weeks of accumulation, right? Because water accumulates its environment. How much of your body is water, by the way? See where I'm going with this? Okay? So, stuff gets stuck in our body because our body is predominantly water, all right? And that water holds on to stuff. And what it is, it holds on to whatever we expose it to. So if we're exposing it to good stuff, it holds on to good stuff. If we're exposing it to bad stuff, it holds on to bad stuff, all right? Real simple, I want to make that real simple. Here's some statistics from the National Toxicology Program. They say that there's over 80,000 registered chemicals in use in the USA alone, and that increases by 2,000 chemicals per year. These are the ones that are registered and regulated. There's actually 27 million that are in circulation, and these are the only ones that are regulated, by the way. These chemicals are incorporated in our food, dumped into our air and water, and they're incorporated into animal feed. And this, this doesn't even include nuclear fallout from things like Fukushima, which we're still being bombarded. Do you know that the average acceptable level of radioactive fallout in our country has increased 4 times since Fukushima happened? Okay. On that note, I've dealt with lots of cancer patients over the years. Prior to Fukushima, I had only ever seen 2 patients with thyroid cancer. Since Fukushima, I've seen over 30. It's only been 8 years. Okay, I've been in practice for a long time, and so in 8 years, I've seen 15 times more thyroid cancer than I did in the double that amount of time I was in practice before that. Okay, so this brings me to this point here. Last year, we had up almost 1.8 million new cases of cancer, and over 600,000 deaths to cancer. The United States is also, we lead the world in cancer cases in children. No other country has as many cancer cases in children as we do. So how does this happen? Well, like I said, we're walking sponges. We accumulate our environment. Whatever we expose ourselves to, that's what we accumulate. It accumulates, good or bad, right? We accumulate through our skin, through our food, water, air, and our general environment. Here we have, before I get into this, I want to talk real quick about something that I try to take, like all these crazy medical ideas and boil them down into real understandable concepts, right? Has anybody ever had a sliver? All right, yeah, we've all had slivers, right? Have you ever had a sliver that was so deep you had to kind of leave it for a little while? You know what I'm saying? What happened with that sliver?
Festered.
It festered, right? So you got this irritation. It was a sliver, right? And then what was the body's response to that sliver? Swelled up. It was inflammation, right? That's number 2, second response. Then as it sat there, what happened? It got infected, right? If it sits there long enough, what happens? It gets infected, right? All disease processes, especially chronic disease processes, follow that same model. Our body has, can I get some water? Great. Thank you. So everything starts with, oh, here's water. Thank you. So everything starts with an irritant, okay? Say you have a back problem, okay? Say you got a back problem, all right? It's because you lifted something you shouldn't have lifted, right? All right, you threw your back out, right? Well, if you don't do something to address that initial irritation, what happens? It gets inflamed, right? If you let it go long enough, I tell patients that the human body with inflammation does the same thing that wood does when it's waterlogged. What happens to wood? It swells up. Then if it stays swollen long enough, what happens? It warps. It starts to fall apart. And if you leave it long enough, it just deteriorates, right? And the same thing happens in our bodies. So in order to reverse this, I call it the 3 I's. My pathology of any disease, I call it the 3 I's. You have irritation, you have inflammation, okay, because the body's response to irritation is an inflammatory response. Do we got any married people here? Okay. If your spouse says something irritating to you, what is your response? Inflammatory response, right? Okay? All right? Just kind of how it works, right? Physiologically, we have the same thing happen, right? So we get irritation, our body has an inflammatory response. If that inflammatory response persists, okay, and if it keeps going and it never gets shut off, the same thing that happened to the bucket we talked about, full of water, nice clean water, happens to our tissues, okay? 6 weeks of distilled water sitting in a bucket out by the road here, what do you think it'd be growing in? Okay. Mold, parasites, everything, right? Not to mention all the toxic chemicals, right? Okay, so if you have swelling, you have inflammation, we got to do something to dry that up. Otherwise, the tissue is going to deteriorate. So let's talk about how to do that, okay? First place we have to start with detoxing is we got to take the garbage out, okay? Anybody ever had a kind of overnight party at their house? Okay, no one cleaned up the kitchen, right? You ever had one of those? We've had those before, right? And you get up in the morning and there's people at your house and everybody's hungry, they want to fix eggs, but the kitchen is a disaster, right? So you clean up everything and, oh wait, the garbage can's full. What do you gotta do? You gotta take the garbage out first, right? Before you can get rid of any of those, half empty plates, half full cups, and all that stuff, right? Before you get rid of all of that, you gotta make space, right? Okay, our colon is our body's garbage can. And if it's full, you ain't gonna get anything else out, all right? So, let's talk about that. Activation of the detox process occurs when we activate digestion, okay? Here's the interesting thing about digestion though, is digestion, the chemical process of digestion starts in your stomach, okay? If the stomach's not working right, nothing underneath it can work right. Anybody ever been on acid blockers? Okay, What acid blockers do is they turn your stomach off. Yeah. Okay, now, when that happens, guess what doesn't happen? All this other stuff we're gonna talk about, all right? So it's super important. So things like, I got lemon water right here, right? Lemon water stimulates your stomach to work. Greens, green things. You realize that, we'll talk about pH real quick. If I took a steak and, had a nice Cajun steak, blackened steak, right? You know what the pH of that would be? Almost 10. If I took a cucumber, cut it in half and we put it on a pH, device, and we test the cucumber, you know what the pH of a cucumber is? Just over 4. Okay, in order to activate my stomach so that I could digest that steak, I need to be eating that cucumber with the steak. Okay, just a little tidbit. Greens will activate your stomach. Okay, good elimination enables healthy absorption of nutrients. Remember, we're talking about what you expose your body to is what you accumulate. Well, if you already have accumulated and you're full, we gotta make space for the good stuff. All right? That's what detox is all about. It's about making space. Anybody ever had a cluttered closet at the end of the hall? All right. You want to fit that one more box in the closet? It just ain't going, right? What do you got to do with the closet? You got to detoxify it, right? Same thing we have to do with our bodies. So when we're nutrient deficient, your body actually holds on to toxins, and that starts to disrupt things. I teach patients, we'll go into just some basic physiology and chemistry. Do you realize mercury, that everyone's heard about toxic mercury, right? You realize if you have mercury exposure, it fits into the same keyholes, if you will, receptor sites, as zinc, selenium, and sulfur, okay? Every type of protein in your body, including your DNA, is repaired by zinc-dependent enzymes, okay? These are enzymes that do all the repairing of protein in our body, have to have zinc in order to be created. Our body can't make those enzymes unless it has zinc. If you have mercury in your system, it means you don't have as much zinc. It cuts down the amount of zinc that you can even have in your system. Okay, so toxicity isn't just an issue itself. It creates nutritional deficiency as well. Okay, if you're missing selenium, your liver can't clean itself out. We're going to talk about the liver here in just a minute, all right? So if you have mercury in your system, that means you can hardly get selenium into your system. All right, just an example. So what that does when we have toxicity, not only does it disrupt our nutritional profile, it is that irritant that triggers that inflammatory response. And these are our primary regulatory mechanisms right here. We got our nervous system, Dr. Lozzi talked about. Our nervous system is like hardwired electronics, okay? You got electronics that deliver messages right now, almost instantly, right? Our nervous system works like that. Our hormonal system is like packages. We've got Amazon fulfillment centers here, right? Right? You order up you get online, you order up your package, they pack it, and then they send it to you. It gets to your house, you unpack it, you follow the instructions, and voila. Hormones that's exactly how hormones work on a cellular level. Okay, they're packages created in a certain gland that are sent off to your cells receive them, and they open them up and follow the instructions. Okay? Super important for regulation. Okay, so our body's logistic system is our cardiovascular system, right? What happens to a city if nothing circulates? It dies. what happens to the human body if nothing circulates? It dies, right? Super, super important. Then we have metabolism. Now metabolism, most of the time when we talk about metabolism, everyone's thinking about this section right here, and how, you know, the dimensions of this part of their body, right? Most of the time, well, metabolism is also toxicity and nutrition. It's how your body's eliminating toxins and how it's integrating nutrients. Okay, that's on a cellular level, that's what metabolism's all about. Detoxification of the blood happens primarily in the liver. Remember, we just talked about logistics, right? So cleaning all our delivery trucks happens in the liver. Okay, all those red blood cells, the liver filters every drop of blood in your body every 3 minutes. Do we have any law enforcement folks here? Okay. When you approach somebody, are you taught to keep not just your gun away from the person, but you want to keep your liver away from being shot, right? Why? Because you'll die before they get you to the hospital. Why? Because the only other thing that has, you know, outside of the heart, the only other organ that has the same amount, that has more circulation than the liver is our brain. Okay? Super important. If the bile ducts in the liver and gallbladder are congested or plugged up, the liver itself, our primary filter, cannot drain and release toxins, and this gives rise to fatty liver disease. What happens, okay, so look at the tree out here. Everybody see the tree out here, no leaves on it, okay? If you imagine the trunk of the tree as the gallbladder and the big bile duct coming out of the liver, all those branches would be up in the liver. Okay, the liver organ built around that, that's the drainage system. It actually would drain from there down into the ground if that was our liver, okay? To just kind of give you an idea. So all those drainage pipes are these bile ducts. And if they get plugged up, the filter can't dump the toxins out. So instead of being a filter like it's designed to be, it becomes a garbage can, okay? And in fatty liver disease, those filtration cells get so full that they get converted into fat cells, okay? And this, I mean, anybody that's type 2 diabetic has some degree of fatty liver disease. So there's a lot going on here. Liver has to be clean in order for us to be healthy. Anybody ever heard of anybody with a hormone issue? Have you ever experienced a hormone issue before? Okay, well, did you know there are adrenaline, your epinephrine, norepinephrine, okay, and insulin are the only hormones in your body that don't go from the gland directly to the liver before they go into general circulation. Wow. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so what I'm saying here is hormones are processed in our livers. If you have a hormone problem, dumping hormones into your system actually may be throwing gasoline on a fire if your liver is not working right and it is not clean. I had, real early on in practice, I had a lot of medical doctors I was working with that we had mutual patients. And they're like, they would eventually come to me and go, hey, what is it you did with Sally? Because I had her on all these hormones and she was going crazy. Literally going crazy. She came to you, you did something with her, and all of a sudden she's like right as rain and she's only taking like half the dose of hormones. I said, I cleaned her liver out. I said, why didn't you do that? He's like, you can do that? Okay, so we had to go through all that. So our liver itself processes everything that we consume here. Water, food, supplements, medications, all before any of that can get into your bloodstream, it has to go through your liver. Wow. okay? Yes,
While we're at the liver, like Dr. Rosie said, if you have an attack, I had a gallbladder attack, I didn't know what happened to me all this time. So what do? Roll you into surgery, and they took it out. How does that affect my liver?
okay, so you're,
Because I've lost a whole,
what, question is, okay, what if you've had your gallbladder out? Well, where that primarily affects you is how well your body breaks down fat in your diet. Okay, it doesn't really affect how the liver cleanses itself as much, which is good. That's good. The gallbladder is a holding tank. Okay, bile coming out of the liver has to emulsify fat. So it takes, be like taking lard and turning it into olive oil, if that makes sense. Okay, so it kind of makes it a little easier to work with, all right? Literally takes the fat, so fat is in like long chains, and it breaks it into little links, if that makes more sense. Okay, so that's what bile does. So if you have a lot of fat in a meal, you need more bile to break that fat down, okay? And so enzymes and a thing called ox bile is really good for if you've had your gallbladder out. Just a side note here. Kidneys. Now, look at this. Your kidneys roughly, they filter roughly 180 gallons of fluid per day. Okay, that's not that you have that much fluid in you, it's that's how many times that fluid goes through the kidneys every day. Okay? Anything the liver doesn't remove from your bloodstream spills over into the kidneys. The kidneys have to deal with it, okay? The liver is designed to take toxins that would normally be fat soluble and convert them into a water soluble state, which is easier to get rid of, okay? Thank God, because if it didn't do that, the toxins that spill over the liver, from the liver, would kill our kidneys in a couple days. Okay, so it's kind of a pretty cool design. We have these fail-safe mechanisms designed into our body. It's really pretty cool. So the more toxic your liver is, the less it clears from your blood, leaving more toxins to stress and damage your kidneys. Now, that's all well and good, but look at this. There's evidence of this happening daily in our society. 3 times more kidneys are transplanted every year than all other transplants. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? They transplant pancreases, eyeballs, livers, lungs, all these other things, lenses on the eyes, okay? They transplant all those transplants combined, they still transplant 3 times more kidneys per year. Why? Because people's kidneys are failing right and left. Why? Goes back to what? There we are. All right, so now we have the lymphatic system. Okay, lymphatic system, here's how I explain it to patients. You have everybody here live in a neighborhood. Aren't you thankful for the sewer system? Did you know our cells are designed with toilets, but they're not hooked up to plumbing? Okay, they're called vacuoles, okay, because they evacuate things from the cell, right? They also are an entry point. They're also how things get into the cell, okay? So it's kind of good that, you know, it's not hooked up to plumbing because we want things to come in to the cell as well, right? So when our cells detoxify, they evacuate all of their toxins into the tissue that they make up. So your brain, when it detoxifies, spits all of the cells spit all their toxins out into the rest of the brain, all right? If we didn't have a lymphatic system, none of those toxins would ever leave the tissue, okay? So everything, even your bones, have lymphatic vessels going through them that are draining toxins out of even your bones, okay? So it actually works identical to the sewer system in your neighborhood. Okay, so if your house is a cell, the lymphatic system would represent the sewer system, all right? So it's draining toxins out away from your body, away from your tissues. Every toxin that leaves every cell in the body and every tissue exits through your lymphatic system. Now what's interesting is your lymphatic system doesn't drain into a filter. Your lymphatic system has hundreds of little filters called lymph nodes. And so it tries to clean up all the junk as much as possible because it eventually dumps right directly into your bloodstream. Okay, and it has to circulate through your body, through your bloodstream, to go back to your liver to get cleaned out. All right? So, would it be important that that continuously drains so it doesn't get clogged up? What do you think?
Right.
All right? Very, very important. So, question of the year, right? How do we get started? You know, how do we begin, right? Let's see if we can answer that. First off, like Dr. Rosie said, we have to make steps. We have to take steps in the right direction. All right. In my book, I lay out things. I lay out a whole process on how to detox. The first thing to do is just start cleaning up your general environment. Okay. Like she said here, if you're drinking this, okay, switch to this. Okay, because this is toxic, right? And this is not. All right, that's simple. That's simple. Just start switching over to things that are less toxic or that are not toxic. I have people with patients that aren't, if they're not facing something like cancer or MS or some, life-threatening condition, the first step I have them do is we start giving them vitamins and minerals because we got to start exposing them to good stuff because they've been obviously exposed to bad stuff for too long, right? And then we have them switch to the organic version of whatever it is they normally eat. Okay, if that happens to be pizza and hamburgers, they switch to organic pizza and hamburgers, right? Because it's a sustainable step. They're already doing that, right? And from there, as they feel better, they're more prone to change, take another step. And then another step, and another step. I have detox programs that we have laid out in our book. And they follow my process here. See, I have this, the way I define the healing process, I got from being a Christian. When I looked at the process that, that Christ takes us through as we convert, you come to Christ and he does what? He pays your debt, okay? That's the first thing he does. Why? Because until your debt's paid, your life is not stable. And before he can actually do something with you, he's got to stabilize your life, right? Then he sends the Holy Spirit into you. And what's the Holy Spirit do? Well, St. Paul says he sanctifies you. Well, if we look at what that means in the Bible, that means he cleans you up. Okay? He detoxifies you. That's his second step. Then as you walk with God and you commune with Christ, he does what? He rebuilds you into a new person. Okay? St. Paul also says, the old things pass away, all things become new, right? Well, if you cut your finger, I'd love to, thank you. If you cut your finger with a dirty, rusty nail, what's the process you got to go through to fix it? First thing, no bleeding wound will ever heal. But you have to stabilize it. You got to put pressure on it. You got to stabilize it, right? Then you hit the nail on the head, right? You got dirt and rust in the wound, what do you gotta do with it? You can't clean it out, right? Because why? No dirty wound will ever heal. That's a universal rule, by the way. Okay.
Amen.
Finally, what do you do to it? You put a Band-Aid on it and you fortify it. Why? Because it's already designed to heal. All you gotta do is set the stage. So my process, how I define healing is this. First off, we have to stabilize. Second, we have to detoxify. And finally, we have to fortify those defenses. Otherwise, we're gonna go right back where we came from. Okay, any question?
I have a question about bandaging something up.
Sure.
Because I mean, I can understand the part of it, excuse me, but I've learned that if you keep something bandaged without any air, it won't heal.
Right. You have to change a bandage. Right. So it depends on how big and how deep the wound is. And that's really interesting because metaphorically it applies to all our spiritual, mental, and physical lives. All right. So in my process, we have detox programs that are all designed accordingly, right? In my book, we actually lay out how to do all this. So we have how to basically clean up your immediate environment, what to do as far as changing your diet, and then different supplements and things like that, so you can start exposing yourself to the good stuff, you know. And as you start reducing your exposure to the bad stuff, your body already, it steps in that direction because it wants to heal. You are designed to heal.
That's right.
Everyone's had a cut, right?
Yeah.
Where you're still breathing. No dead people here. Obviously, your body healed, right? You didn't bleed to death. So your body's designed to heal. Okay? There's not a doctor in the world that can heal you. You were designed to heal. Here's another real quick thing that I tell patients. In all treatment protocols, there's 3 factors that determine the success of a treatment protocol. Number 1, I'm a doctor, so I started with the doctor. So it's the experience and background and training of the doctor, right? Okay, so if you are gonna go on an excursion, you wanna go with a guy that's actually been there before, right? Yeah, so so don't go to a foot doctor for your heart. Right? So, right? So number 1, you choose the right guide. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is the quality of the remedy and the proper application of the remedy. Again, you go to a foot doctor for your heart, and he gives you foot medicine instead of heart medicine, you're in trouble, right? Okay, so you want to get the right medicine in high quality medicine. That's number 2. Number 3 is the absolute most important factor of all. Number 3 is the ability, the capacity of the patient to respond to the treatment. Okay, why is that the most important? If you can't respond, the treatment's not gonna work. Right? So, with that in mind, I've designed all of my programs to increase your capacity to respond. That's how I work, okay? I want you to come in, we work with you, and we increase your ability to heal, okay? Not just, and this is how Dr. Rosie works too. She's the same thing she's doing. You come in and you get your adjustments, you get your treatments and things like that. That's setting the stage for your body to do what it's designed to do. Okay, you're making it easier for your body to do what it wants to do. It wants to heal. Okay, when you take supplements, when you eat right, when you exercise, when you get your treatments, these things are all setting the stage for the body to do what it's designed to do. And that increases your capacity to respond. And Has anybody been, how many of you have been treated by Dr. Rosie? Okay, so can you attest to the fact of what I'm saying? Your capacity to respond is way better than when you started, isn't it? Because you're healthier, you're better, right? And that's how, in this natural medicine world, that's how we work. So, making detoxing a part of your life. You can check out, this is my 2-week detox here, it's in the picture here. Drinking more water. Remember what I said about the microbiome? Okay, and your bugs drink first. Okay, so you got, if you want some water, you're gonna have to drink a little extra, right? Okay, so we gotta stay hydrated. Dry brushing is a great thing for your lymphatic system. A little bit of friction, your lymphatic system actually lays real close to your skin, okay? And anything that it can't get rid of, it will try to kick out of your skin before it puts it back into general circulation, okay? Has anybody ever had eczema or acne or any of those types of things, okay? Or rashes or anything like that? Those are signs that your lymphatic system has something in it that it can't break down, and it doesn't want to put back into general circulation. It's too dangerous, so it kicks it out through the skin. Dry brushing is a good way to help that all progress and move quicker. See, in conventional medicine, we have masked the process, shut it down, stop the processes, okay, so you don't feel bad. Or that you don't notice that you feel bad, right? We don't have that in natural medicine. What we have over in natural medicine is we have ways of pushing the fast forward button. Okay, we can push that fast forward button and speed up the process so it finishes itself out. So our body's governed by two different processes. One is called negative feedback loops. Okay, and that's, okay, say you eat this, okay, and your blood sugar goes up, your pancreas is triggered into a negative feedback loop and it produces insulin to bring your blood sugar back down. Okay, this check and balance system. How many ladies here have had a baby? Okay, how many ladies have been through that monthly thing every month? Okay. Those are called, okay, when you go into labor, or when you start that monthly thing every month, okay, those are called positive feedback loops. Okay, because once it gets started, right, the month starts, and it goes through a cycle. If nothing changes, what happens the next month? It reboots and does it again, right? When you go into labor, you start having contractions, right? And each one gets a little worse than the last one, right? It's just kind of how it works, right? Okay, and that positive feedback loop, it reboots as it finishes. Okay, these are the things that govern our body. Our body has these cycles, right? And so chronic illness is just like those positive feedback loops that reboot, except for in a healthy situation, a positive feedback loop settles down as it goes on. In an unhealthy situation, it intensifies. It becomes progressively worse. That's how chronic disease works, all right? And so in order to reverse that, we have to set the stage. That's what these processes that I'm talking about, that's what we're doing, is we're setting that stage. Remember, if you want a clean slate, you gotta clean the slate, right? So what does that entail? That means we're gonna have to detox. If you wanna start over, we gotta clean up the mess, right? And so that's what detoxing is all about. You are designed with the power to heal. I hope you've heard that today. Has everybody kind of got that? There's a couple of us have said that so far, you know. Oh yeah, right there, look at this. So you were designed with the power to heal. Every day we have choices. Okay, we can choose this, or we can choose this. I don't think anybody here is unable to feed themselves, right? I feed myself, so I have the choice. I can either grab this, or I can grab this, all right? It's my choice, okay? I determine what goes in my mouth. I don't have anybody feeding me, okay? So we have the choices to better ourselves or make ourselves worse, okay? It's our choice. We're either building healthy habits or not. We're either building ourselves up or tearing ourselves down. And it's our choice. So what I'm encouraging you is to choose wisely. Your health, your vitality, your contribution to your relationships, your family. We have people here that probably have grandchildren, you know. The healthier years that you can have, that means the more time you get to enjoy those kiddos, right? That happens by making wise choices. So the beautiful thing is you can get started today. There is, the Bible tells us that God's grace is new every morning. We get to start over every time we get out of bed in the morning, right? So today we can make some different choices. I'm going to invite you to take a look at drnewsom.com. Sign up for our newsletter. We can keep you updated. We have a lot of information that goes out, articles and things like that that I'm writing all the time. You can take a look at my book, Detox for Life. Ty Bollinger, my buddy, gave me a really cool forward in this, so it's worth reading. Check out our YouTube channel. We're about to launch a library of 40 educational videos that we're going to put out there on things like the immune system, how it works, and how to maximize it. Things like detox, and things like the liver, things like female hormones. I don't know if anybody might be interested in, you know, kind of straightening those out. You know, but we got a whole video series coming out on those. And here in the new year, I'm going to be doing Zoom meetings for coaching, for helping people, just kind of giving them some guidance. I was on a Zoom. Does anybody know Jonathan Otto? Have you ever heard of the? Okay, he had me on one of his private Zoom meetings with his like exclusive people. There were 3,800 people on the meeting. It was the biggest Zoom meeting I've ever been on. And it was a Q&A. We went on for like 3 hours, me with these people, just Q&A. And on a funny note, 3 times throughout that program, and we're on Zoom, everyone can see my face. People ask me, Doc, do you got anything for growing hair? First one I said, no, not really. Second time I said, are you looking at the feed? So, anyways, we're going to be doing some stuff like that. We're
On your ears, maybe.
On my ears, I could pull. Yeah, I grow hair, not up here. It goes, you know what's crazy is my hair on my head grows sideways. It doesn't grow up. If I let it grow, I look like Bozo the Clown. It's pretty crazy. So, do I have any time or for questions, or are we running late?
Let me get the other 2 speakers up, and then we'll do questions.
Thank you, guys.
But no, he's not done, so we won't get you back up here. Just want to make sure I honor their time too. And so, and again, if you guys want his book or raffle is going to be done, and then you just fill this out with your name and your number, and we'll do it at the very end. I also want to tell you about the upcoming class we're having in December. We're doing a recipe desserts, healthy desserts for holidays, and we have a sign up for that, where we give you a recipe of the healthy recipes we have, like cheesecake or chocolate cake, that is all no sugar, no grain. But anyways, then we're gonna have on the 5th of December, where you bring the recipe with you, and we have like tables full of just hot cocoa, coffee, and lots of healthy desserts, and you'll just roll out of here. So, But it's healthier stuff, so, but you get options, so for the holidays, you can do better stuff, yeah. What's that? Oh, we need a packet over here. And then, let me go ahead and introduce the next speaker is David DeHaas, and he's with Living Waters. And again, we have 10 minutes with him, and then we'll do question and answer really quick at the very end after that, so. And you can introduce yourself, because other than I've gone to his office and he did, well, he can explain what he's gonna do, and crazy stuff. Yeah, and there's a bathroom over here if anybody needs to go to the bathroom. And by the way, while he's doing that, Dr. Natalia, you want to stand up? So she's my associate doctor, and she is going to be with us a year tomorrow. And so we love her, and she's been able to help us just serve people, and so we just so grateful for her. So thank you for being here, Natalia. And of course, you guys know Max over there and George. They're both amazing, and if you guys don't know them, they both have such a heart for people and just love serving. So just thank them on the way out, and I will help you with that. You can go ahead and get started. There we go.
All right, Dr. Newsom said it all. Ditto. So I'm surprised you introduced me as the poop guy most of the time. I love it. I talk about poop all the time. First question we ask is, how do you poop? My name is David DeHaas. We run Living Waters Wellness Center. Wasn't a thing I planned on doing. Years ago, I was in real estate. I thought I'd do that for the rest of my life. I got sick. I was sick, not sick. I had severe psoriasis, a lot of acne, a lot of allergies, asthma so bad, just wished my next breath. Eventually, had numerous things. I was always tired. At 30, I would shuffle around like this for about an hour just to be able to play basketball. And I loved to play basketball. So it was affecting my life. But the other thing I was an addict. I was an addict to 2 Snickers bars, 2 Reese's peanut butter cups, and 6 Cokes a day. Big Macs, Burger King. Yeah, no, seriously, I was an addict. And so eventually one day, this little iridologist, I'll never forget it, she was just starting out, and she was on a little farm in Detox, Idaho. Ever been to Detox, Idaho? No. Anyway, she looked into my eyes. She was an iridologist. She looked in my eyes and said, David, how often do you poop? I says, I don't know, once a day sometimes, every 2 or 3 days, varies. How often do you eat? Well, 3 times a day or more. Yeah. What do you think's happening to that when it's not going out? It's a problem. You should eat, you should poop. How many of you have had a refrigerator where you've left stuff in it for a couple weeks, a couple months, maybe 20, 30 years? No, I'm serious. So think about that. Do you throw some probiotics or some yogurt in the refrigerator and expect it to clean itself up? I hear people all the time, I'm taking probiotics. Okay, if that putrefying, rotting mess down here is not moving out, you can throw all the probiotics you want at it. It's not going to change much. It's a huge, huge, huge deal to leave that stuff in the trunk. So I learned about, she says, you need to do some colonics. And I go, what is a colonic? How many people have done a colonic in here? Awesome sauce. It's the largest I've ever seen. And those people haven't. So I want to get you over your fears of doing a colonic today. I want to tell you the why. Dr. Newsom has said tons of great stuff. I took 4 pages of notes. I hope you did too. All good stuff. But here's the thing. Here's what I start out with. If you're not eliminating every day, by the way, I've had people come to me. It's very common, once every 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, once a month. I just had a guy come to me, it's been 2 months. Yeah, he's lost 20 pounds. It took us 10 days to break, just to get some stuff moved. Last 11 days. 11 days. Before that, the longest it took for us to break something loose was 5 days, and both of these ladies were crying. And one of them came to us because her friend had just went there and they charged her $26,000 at the St. Alphonsus to do an enema and a CT scan. So if you want to go get it, so our colonics are $125. So 125, 26,000 for an enema. And I'll tell you the difference between an enema and a colonic in just a moment. But this is why, guys, this is your second brain. I want to pass this around. So what they mentioned earlier is all correct. I always say that I make Dr. Rosie and Dr. News look like amazing people. If they come here and clean this out, then everything they do just works so much better. It absorbs better. There's more neurons in the gut than your spinal column. What's a neuron? Think about cell phones. Think of your cell phone as a neuron. If it's covered up with poop, do you get a phone call? No. But I'm going to pass this around. Take a look. Every organ in your body, whether it's your kidneys, your lungs, you know, the COVID thing, you know, all that, lung issues, breathing issues, it's all connected. This is the brain. I get so many people, so many women come in and they've got brain fog. So transverse colon is all about your brain. 90% of your serotonin gets made there. So if you have this old, rotting, undigested food in there, it's not firing and wiring like it needs to be. My wife's 95-year-old grandmother, she was very healthy, she did well, but at 95, she had a lot of severe dementia and fear. It was like, where's the cat, where's the car, who's taking me home? I mean, you couldn't have a conversation, you couldn't remember who you were. How we got into this is my father-in-law, well, I did colonics, and my father-in-law had 4 months to live, he had cancer. So he did a 10-day process, he lived 12 more years. So after he did it, he decided to take his mother through it. And she had old black matter coming out, tons of it. And after that, she lived to be 102 and a half. But they were peaceful years. She could remember who I was. She could talk to me. It wasn't perfect memory, but she had no medicines. Hospice didn't even make it to her when she just died in her sleep at 102 and a half. So it's not about how long you live, it's the quality of life you're gonna have. So today at 62, I can do more than I did at 32. I referee, okay, back then, okay, there's no way I could have refereed. I did, 7 years ago as an experiment, I did 55 basketball games in 2 weeks. Basically, I was running a marathon every day for 2 weeks. Did not help my adrenals too much, but I did it. And I wasn't sore, I wasn't stiff, and I went skiing on Sunday, which is amazing. Because at 46, I had cancer. And I was always thinking like, oh man, am I gonna live to see my kids graduate from college? And of course, I have. But there, for a time, it was a big deal. I had psoriasis so bad, I literally had fungus growing up my legs. I got pictures on my arms, and like you mentioned, you know, if you got toxins in your body basically sends it through the skin and says, hey, pay attention. You know, what are you doing? This is a warning light. And so as we start to detoxify people, and one of the main things we do is we do a 10-day wellness retreat. And so in that process, you're there for 10 days. So people ask, well, how many colonics can I do? Should I just do 1 or 2 or 3? Guys, it takes, I'm gonna pass this around so you can look at all your little connections there. So it takes 10 days. An enema's gonna go in about so far, and it's gonna stimulate peristalsis. And the reason why most of you are not operating on full power is you're not doing proper peristalsis every day. So to get that moving again, we've got to do 2 things. We dissolve the old matter in here, and by water going in here, water can get all the way around your large intestine, okay? But it takes time. You can't do it all in one session. It took you maybe 30, 40 years for it to build up. I didn't clean it out in one session. So some people come in and tip their toe in the water, so you have a little 3-day package for that, or a 5-day, right? And they kind of see how this is like. But it's really easy, guys. You're in the privacy of your own room, and on our website, there's a video. My wife shows you how a colonic is done. And the colonic systems that we use, we're the only ones in the valley that use this type of system. There's 2 types of systems, a closed and an open. And we use a gravity-fed open system. It's very gentle. The rectal tube is tinier than my pinky. In a closed system, it's larger, and they pressurize the system. So we don't pressurize it, it's just a natural water going in and going out, going in and going out. So it's like a shower on the inside. Privacy of your own room, we're not in the room with you. The therapists come in, get you set up, they come in, you call them anytime you want. They're in there quite a bit in the first couple of days, but after that, if you're like, yeah, I'm good. Right, Gary? So it's really easy to do. You're all covered up. No one's going to see your privates. It's very gentle. And basically, you poop for about 45 minutes to an hour. And most of the comments, even those who are most feared up, and we have a lot of those, that's my biggest job as a cheerleader to get you over your fear, is they get out and go, oh, wow, I feel lighter and refreshed. Most of my comments are I feel lighter and refreshed. Think about the time you were out working in the garden, right? You got all sweaty and gunky. Well, that's what's going on inside. You're sweaty and gunky. And when you get that out, it's amazing. My dad, another great story, my dad had cancer, prostate cancer. His PSA number was 38. The doctor said, well, with radiation, we can get it down to about a 7 or 8, but 2 years, it's going to come back, nothing we can do. I said, Dad, get back on that colonic board, do another 10-day process. And so he did. 5 days into it, the doc looked at him and he says, you just do your own thing. So, because he did spot radiation only, no surgery, and he started doing the cleanse on the same day, right? So, and the coolest part about my dad, it's been 13 years. He just bought a brand new John Deere tractor and put up 9 cords of wood with my sister a couple of weeks ago. Fully active at 87. The other neat thing is my dad at age 60, he had a tumor behind his left ear. When they took it out, his whole face drooped. And so for about, I don't know how many years it was, 15 years, he could not blink this eye or chew food on this side of his mouth. It looked like he had Bell's palsy. After his 4th, so every year he did a 10-day cleanse, because my mom and dad said, going, no, I got friends in nursing homes, they're spending this much every month. We'll spend this much once a year, and we'll come and we'll do a cleanse. So on his 4th one, I'll never forget this. I remember it was amazing. He walks in the door of our office at Living Waters, and he pulls off his glasses and he says, look at this. That was amazing. He comes and gets checkups twice a year. How many cancer doctors spend 2 or 3 hours with their patients? Him and Gamboa, bless his heart, they talk Gonzaga basketball for a couple hours, and is everything all right? But this guy's just looking at him like, this man's amazing. I mean, how'd this all work out? But like everyone's mentioned here, right? We got to clean this out. That way you get the nutrition you need. So you've got 36 feet of intestinal tract, guys. And what happens because of stress, it gets looking like this, okay? That's what happens. So it's twisted, distorted. This is everybody. Dr. Morton Walker says, or Dr. Harvey Kellogg years ago, he's a gastroenterologist, the only place you'll see a perfect colon is in a textbook.
Great.
Yeah, it's true. So getting this changed out is going to take some time, but colon hydrotherapy is cheap and inexpensive to do. So we do this on our 10-day cleanse. The other big thing I want to mention is, you talked a lot about lymphatic systems, so I got a great picture of Mr. Lymphatic here. But the other thing is parasites. Now I know we're in the United States, I know many people believe we don't have parasites here. Look at, have you ate sushi? Raise your hand. Have you ate sushi? Have you walked barefoot? Keep your hands up. Have you walked barefoot? Have you been in a public restroom? Have you lived life? Okay, you got pets? Okay, you got parasites. Okay, this is pretty amazing. And so Dr. Hulda Clark in her book, Cure for All Cancer, she says, if you want to get rid of cancer, get rid of the parasites, you'll be in remission immediately. And I've had people who've done tons of parasite cleanses, I mean the herbs and all that stuff, it's all great stuff. But what we know to be true is we have a pulse frequency machine that we use, and then we use the water. And the parasites don't like it. We had a gal just recently came, and she actually had parasites in the brain. And every doctor had given her anxiety, depression medication, because they basically, I'm sure they just thought she was crazy. And you would have thought that so too. We couldn't talk to her, because the parasites were literally screaming and talking through her. And she's here grabbing her head, my head hurts, my head hurts. So I told her to come out for 21 days. And on the 11th day, she called me and she said, I changed my flight, I can leave tomorrow. I said, are you telling me or are you asking me? And she goes, oh, I'm asking. I said, no. Stick through. You're planning your book for next week. Stay here. It's gonna change. It really will. She went on Sunday. We took a day off. Sunday, she went to the hospital, got a CT scan. Of course, they didn't see anything in her brain, or parasites, that is. Anyway, on the next day, that night, after she did her colonic, she texted my wife in the toilet at the hotel where she was staying. Tapeworm came out. Tapeworms, hookworms, liver flukes, we see those all the time. Candida yeast, buckets of it. Most of you have it. And by the way, if you're with a spouse and you think you're good and it's just her problem, wrong old bucko. Yeah, you're exchanging spit and saliva and all those other fluids, yeah, you got them too. So spouses, you should come with your mate. So the other big thing we talk about is cleaning out this lymphatic, 45 pints of lymphatic fluid. So we have a vibration machine we use in our office as well. We're doing all this in conjunction. There's many modalities. And on the website, there's a video called 4 Natural Laws of Healing. Watch it. I made it simple so that a 5th grader, probably even a 1st grader, can understand it. And you should watch it probably a couple of times. I go through it pretty fast, 68 minutes. But we talk about this because guess where the lymphatic? And I got a call last night, this gal's coming up, oh my gosh. So what do doctors do? Oh, let's do a test. Let's take out some lymph nodes. Doc, do you need your lymph nodes? Yes, you need your lymph nodes. So they took out 3. I've had clients that came in that 48 taken out. You need this, okay? And so this lymphatic fluid, there's no pump for it. I mean, your heart, 10 pints of blood, great pump. No pump for the lymphatic system, okay? You're jumping up and down and moving. So the vibration plates are great, but running, walking is all great, but we don't move enough in our society. And then guess where it dumps? Right here. So him mentioned the skin brushing, excellent tool as well. And so you got to keep this moving. We got to clean it out, but you can't clean it out until we clean out the liver, as he mentioned. So we do a liver cleanse on our 10-day retreat. And it's amazing what happens to you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually after you do that. I've had many people on the 10th day go like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what happened today. I got more out today than the previous 9 days. I've had people come to me, and we don't get into talking about religion or any of these things. But I've had people in their 70s, late 60s, and they came to me, and I tape a lot of people, and they tell their stories. You'll see them on our website under success stories. And this blows me away, but it makes sense to me because there's now, after all these years, but he says, David, I get it. I go, get what? I get my connection to me and God. I go, really? Well, how'd that happen? It just happened. You get these entities, this gunk out of here. You get clear. I've seen people broke, relationships shattered, and after the cleanse, they oh my gosh, they can think, oh, it was me. It was my energy. It wasn't that person. I guess I do love that person. And so I see relations get better, or in some cases that's meant to be, the relationships break apart. But here's what's very interesting to me. When I first got into this, the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in the 1940s, and in that, they discovered a writing by the Essenes. I'm going to paraphrase it. It's in the webinar, but basically, it's this. 2,000 years ago, they wrote this, right? There wasn't 80,000, or as you mentioned, 27 million chemicals back then, no cars, but they said, take out a gourd the height of a man, hang it by a tree, and go to the river and get purified water warmed by the sun, put it in the gourd and stick the gourd in your hinder parts and let it run every day until you see every foul, evil smelling thing of fear leave you. Fear, what does fear mean? False emotions appearing real. This gets messed up because of fear. We're fear of who the next president's going to be. We're fear of, oh, I can't make my car payment. We have all these fears, and we stuff them right here. And the autonomic nervous system gets addicted to whether it's chemicals or the emotional addictions that you've been hanging on to. And I've got clients I can't treat because their fear is so great, they want to keep their story, they don't want to let go of their story. So those are some of the things that we see on our 10-day retreat. But guys, we've got to start with the gut. 36 feet intestinal tract, the surface area the size of a tennis court. More neurons than your spinal column. You want it firing and wiring. So, a little special here today. By the way, I do a radio program every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. on KIDO 580 and 107.5 FM. Tomorrow I'm doing all about what Kathy's going to talk about, 5G. So if you want to come in and try a colonic, normally a colonic, a single session is 125. We have packages, but if you just call us the next couple of weeks and say, Dr. Rosie, 89, I'll give you the colonic, I'll give you a far infrared biomass session and a whole body lymph detox. And we'll give you a little tool. You'll be there about 2.5 hours. So for $89 is great value. So just Dr. Rosie, 89, and come see us. Or if you just need to come take a tour, but definitely watch that webinar. That's all I've got.
Give it a hand. And I love that whenever I did it, there's this like a plastic tube, and so while you're pooping, like it goes this way, and you can see all your stuff and the stuff above that, and then like little things flying back, like they want to go back in.
on the
All right, so the next topic would be 5G, and I know that many of you don't know how crazy bad this is, and we think many times people think, oh, this is going to be great because, you know, we're going to have driverless cars, you know, you can drive and then the car drives for you and all these kind of things that they want to sell you on 5G, but Kathy's going to tell you why it's so bad. Oh, man. I'll do the best I can while you talk, okay? Great.
Okay, so my name is Kathy Cook, and I'm a board-certified holistic nutritionist and a building biologist. Has anybody heard of building biology before? Awesome, great. So building biology is the study of buildings and anything in a building that may cause health symptoms or cause chronic conditions. So as a building biologist, I am assessing homes for air quality. Of course, we think of mold, chemicals, all of this stuff that we've talked about today. And then the EMF side of things. So who here is familiar with EMFs, electromagnetic fields? Okay, so not as many as I had hoped. That's okay. It's, in my experience, this is the missing piece to many, many chronic health conditions. So I'm really happy that we can put this piece in with what all these other experts are saying today. Because if you're doing all of this stuff, what I have found is that if you don't address this piece, you're going to keep spinning your wheels. So of those of you who are familiar with EMFs, are you mitigating your exposure? Okay, a couple, awesome. So thank you so much. So yes, when you can, oh boy, that's the wrong one, that's okay. Oh, okay. Oh, I have multiple in there, yeah, okay. It's NG EMF is the one that I wanted. For a second, I thought I had that one. Okay. I'm gonna talk all about that. So this is a huge topic, and I've only got a couple minutes, so I'm gonna do my best to give you guys the best information. But of course, I will be here for as long as anybody wants, so I can answer questions. Because again, this is a massive topic. So mitigating EMFs. Well, first of all, who here believes that it is a health problem? Okay, great. And who here does not? Maybe that's okay if you're not on board. There's a lot of people that are not on board. It took me a long time to get on board until I realized my health problems were the EMFs were a big contributor of that. So in the last 100 years, how much of an increase of EMF exposure do you think we've had? 5 times, 10 times? It's a quintillion times. Quintillion times. Because 100 years ago, we didn't have any of this stuff. We didn't have electricity. Awesome. Yes, a quintillion times. And who has a cell phone? Who keeps it on airplane mode? You will after today. I'm hoping. Okay. So a lot of times when I hear people, I'm talking about this topic and they say, well, Kathy, this is pointless because the stuff is everywhere and there's nothing I can do. And that is 100% false. What you bring into your home is your biggest exposure, and you have control over what you bring into your home. So there may be a cell tower off in the distance, but if you're sleeping next to your Wi-Fi router, which I see all the time, you're getting a much, much bigger exposure from that Wi-Fi router than that antenna that's off in the distance. Okay, so there's a lot of increased awareness about this topic because of 5G, and I'm very happy about that. But I want you to know that that is just the tip of the iceberg. There are 4 frequencies that we are concerned about. So when I'm in a home and I'm doing an assessment, I'm looking at radio frequency, which is 5G, cell towers, your Fitbit, your smart speaker, your cell phone, Wi-Fi router, Bluetooth, all of these things. But there's also the electric fields. So is your bed next to your wall? Most of us are, right? And it's about this level. And what's behind your head right here? All the wires in your walls, right? So you're sleeping in this electric field because those electrons don't stay in the wires. They come out, sometimes 6 to 8 feet. And then we've got magnetic fields, which are things like overhead power lines, big point sources like refrigerators, electrical panels, these kinds of things. And then we have dirty electricity, which practically nobody's heard about, but it's a big deal. And it is something that affects us exponentially, and it's things like CFL light bulbs, LED light bulbs, solar panels, all of these things that we think are awesome because they're great for energy consumption, but when you change that energy, what happens to that electricity? Basically, it comes out into your living space. So these are the fields that I am looking at when I'm doing an assessment. And it's a big, big topic, like I said, so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, but I just wanted to give you that brief primer. And of course, we're exposed to this stuff more than ever. Diapers, we have smart diapers now. Because how are you supposed to know when to change your kid's diaper if your phone doesn't tell you? 100%. Oh, it gets worse. There's smart tampons. I'm not kidding you, because how are you supposed to know when to change your tampon without your phone telling you? There's devices that work on your posture. When you slouch, it tells your phone that you're slouching. There's all kinds of stuff that we put on our bodies that I am horrified by, because it's doing us a lot of damage on a cellular level. I talked about that. So these are just some resources. And again, if anybody wants any of this information, I've got my cards back there, and you can contact me and I will give you all of this information. But how it affects us on a cellular level, I just want to cover that really quickly. So this is the work of Dr. Martin Pall. He's a professor emeritus from Washington State University. He's one of the leading researchers on EMFs. And what he has found is that when our body is in contact with these non-native EMFs, because the earth has a Schumann resonance, its own electromagnetic field, which is beautiful, that's why we walk barefoot in the grass. We connect to that Schumann resonance. But when we're in contact with these non-native EMFs, it artificially opens the voltage-gated calcium channels, because voltage, right? Makes sense. And then calcium floods into the cell, and we get this downstream effect of oxidative stress. And what does oxidative stress cause?
Causes your cells to rust like your car.
Causes your cells to rust. That's a great analogy, yeah. And the symptoms that come from that, anything, pretty much everything, anything and everything. The biggest symptoms that I see, insomnia and tinnitus are the two biggest I see. People say, actually that's how I got into this field. I had severe tinnitus in only my left ear for over a decade. Couldn't get rid of it, couldn't make any progress on it. I also had severe insomnia, and this topic of the EMFs kept coming up, and I was like, that's crazy, woo-woo. I didn't get it, but I became so desperate, I said, okay, I'll do a trial. I put my phone away for a week in a drawer somewhere, and I unplugged my Wi-Fi router, and the tinnitus in my ears went away in 3 days. And I was like, it was such a life-changing experience. I said, I have to know everything there is to know about this. So other symptoms, irritability, also very big. Irritability and anxiety, huge. Pain, depression, headaches, weakness, behavior issues. Hopefully we don't get to the point where it's cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, but there's a lot of research showing the connection between those. And this is just a graph of symptoms as they increase the closer you are to a cell tower. Quickly, I just want to talk about the industry sway and why most of us think that this technology is safe, because most of us do. Because you do your 5-minute Google search and you're like, oh, it's safe.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta understand the enormous financial interest behind the biggest industry of all time, right? There's more cell phones in the world than people, and there's a huge amount of lobbying power that the industry has. And so if you think that when you look at this science that shows that this technology is safe, you've gotta understand who funded the research and where this research came from. I've been looking into the research for about 5 years, pretty in depth. And it's the industry-funded studies that show that there is no biological impact, and it's the independent research that predominantly says that almost always that there is. So partly how they do that is they're using testing parameters that are really meaningless. They're looking at how much a phone maybe heats your head, but we know that it's not the thermal effect. That's not what is causing this oxidative stress. They're using subjects that are big, robust, healthy men. They're not looking at children or infants or women. They are also, almost all of the tests that the industry has done is on 2G and 3G. not what we're currently using, and not 5G. So it's a mess. So if you do your research online, you really got to know what you're looking at. Okay, so what we all want to know about is 5G. Anybody have a 5G tower near them? Or know what they look like? Yeah, so this is what they look like. This is in Idaho here. So what you see here, these little 3 panels down here, they kind of look like little solar panels. Those are the 5G antennas. And on top of there, that big canister, that's a 4G antenna. So 5G, how it works is it's using millimeter waves, which means that they're smaller waves, but they don't travel as far. And so everybody's freaking out that these millimeter waves are gonna, the millimeter waves are gonna kill us. I'm not nearly concerned about those millimeter waves as I am this 4G antenna on top, because it's closer to your home. Okay, so the whole point of these antennas is that they have to be close enough to your home in order for you to get the 5G signal.
What do you consider close to your home? Yeah.
30 feet
Oh.
on your sidewalk.
Yeah.
So David and I, Mr. DeHaas and I, are in a group called Idahoans for Safe Technology, and we're both on the board. And we've been fighting this fight here in Boise and Meridian, actually the whole Treasure Valley, for, David DeHaas came on, 6-8 months ago. I've been at it for about 1.5 years. So we know, the ordinances that each of the communities have in place. And Meridian's is not good. Boise's is even worse. And in Boise, they can put an antenna up 30 inches from a property. Yeah.
And Nedma has a lot, right? Because I've
Yeah.
seen some.
Nampa, I'm not sure about Nampa. I'm not totally clear about what Nampa's got yet. I don't think they have much. Meridian and Boise have the bulk. So these are all over downtown Boise. They're on streetlights. I see them in Meridian on streetlights all the time. But now the applications are in neighborhoods, and I have seen them. There's one 2 blocks from where I live, an application. They're all on corner streetlights, very, very close to homes, within feet of people's homes. So that's what I'm concerned about, is the proximity to your home, right? Okay, so they have to be so close because again, these 5G millimeter waves, they don't travel very far, and they're blocked by trees and building materials. So the end result will be many, many hundreds of these antennas. It has to be in all of our neighborhoods in order for the system to work. There's no point in having one antenna, because the intent of 5G is for all of them to connect together. So we're looking at ubiquitous coverage, and they're gonna be everywhere. So the city of Boise has been very difficult to work with. They refuse to meet with us. All we're really asking for is, hey, can we sit down and have a conversation with you so that we can put a smart ordinance in place? Places like Whitefish, Montana, Petaluma, California, Calabasas, California, they have ordinances in place where the city council and the mayor has said, you know what, we really don't want these next to people's houses. Instead, we're gonna have a 250 foot or a 500 foot or 1,000 foot setback. So you can have 5G, but you can't have it within this distance of a residential area. And that's all we want. That's what we're asking for, but the city refuses to talk to us.
Really?
Well, I mean, personally, I think that they're good people, but they don't know. They don't understand. And again, this is industry influence here, okay? So the industry is talking to them continually, and they have assured them that they are meeting FCC guidelines, which is actually false. And they have, the industry has assured them that if they try to stop this, that they will get sued, and it will be on, it will be the liability of the taxpayers, which again is false. So they don't know. They don't know. They've been given false information. And so that's what we are trying to clear up. That's what we want to do in talking with them, is to give them this information. So before I end with how to protect yourselves, we do have some action steps for you guys if you want to be involved. I appealed that tower that's 2 blocks from my house. It went through a planning and zoning commission hearing a month ago, and they denied it. And so on November 17th is our chance to get in front of the city council, which is great. And, we would love for people to show up to that meeting. And then I've also got some email action steps that you can send to the city council. So I have a sign-up sheet in the back. If anybody would like to be involved with that, you can put your name down and I will give you the information on how to be involved in that. Because if we are not successful with this appeal, I'm very nervous about what our neighborhoods are gonna look like soon. There's already over 350 approved applications in Boise, at least. So it's a bummer. So anyway, on a lighter note, how do you protect yourselves? So again, everybody's always telling me I can't do anything. Well, don't do this, okay? Please do not do this. This picture really frightens me because it's so cute and adorable, yet, you might as well put a cigarette in her mouth, right? Like, what's the difference? So for each of the 4 fields, there are different mitigation strategies. For your radio frequency, you can use a landline, they work, right? You can keep your phone in airplane mode when you don't need it. This is one of the best things you can do. I have a cell phone begrudgingly because I travel a lot and I'm on the road a lot doing assessments. So sometimes I have to have one. It is in airplane mode 99% of the time. I check my messages once or twice a day. If I have to make a call, I'll use a landline. So it's really not that inconvenient for me. And the biggest thing you can do immediately is hardwire your internet connection. Okay, that is the biggest thing that you can do to reduce your exposure. None of us need Wi-Fi. There was only a short couple of years ago that all of us plugged our computers in, right? We can still do that. I've got 7 devices in my house that are hardwired and it's no big deal. I'm still alive and I'm still living a healthy life even though I have a wire to my computer, right? So that will be the biggest thing you can do to reduce your exposure. As far as these other fields, really the best thing you can do, unplug anything that you don't need to use. Things like a printer. If I turn my meter on right now and that printer was on, this meter would go off the charts. I walk into houses every week where the printers are on 24/7 and they're blasting all the people in the house for no reason. Just turn it off, unplug it, it's no big deal.
Regular printers or the Wi-Fi printer?
Well, Wi-Fi printers, there's not a whole, if you have an old printer with no Wi-Fi, awesome. It's very rare that I find that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, most of them do.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if you have one of those surge protectors or power strips, can you click it off
Yep.
there?
That's a beautiful thing to do. Power strips are
That's more
fantastic.
convenient. than
Yeah, it's
getting
more
down.
convenient. Yep, absolutely. And it kills everything that's on that power strip. And it saves you money, too. Those are great. Be aware of all this stuff that you're bringing into your house. Refrigerators, toasters, stuffed animals. You wouldn't believe the things I find in people's houses, and they have no idea they're there. It took me an hour the other day to find a stuffed animal in a child's house because I couldn't figure out where this frequency was coming from. Grills, water softeners. Almost everything has a radio frequency these days for no reason. So be aware of the new things that you're buying. I'm not a fan of Fitbits, fitness trackers, all that stuff. I can't wrap my mind around the fact that I have a health device that's putting radiation onto my body, right? And I had a picture earlier of a girl that was in one of my classes recently that has this big old burn.
I saw that.
Yeah, that was from a Fitbit. So be aware of that kind of stuff.
Thank you for mentioning that. I try not to say it to people when I'm adjusting them, but when I see any Apple phone or one of those,
Yeah.
I'm trying to not say too much because you just don't know, but now that you know, I'm gonna say, take that thing. By the way, just like when I smell perfume on you or cologne, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I'm gonna say, you're causing me to have a migraine because those are toxins. But it's just like things like that sometimes I bite my tongue, like they're not gonna.
Yeah.
I don't know yet, but now you know, it's not my
Absolutely.
tongue.
And then, finally, if you have an assessment, that helps to get deeper because, I could spend 3 hours of assessment, I could spend 2 days, tracking down current on a water pipe or, all of this, we get really deep in the dirty electricity and all of these more advanced, complicated things. But, that's down the line. Right now, you got to take care of what's in your house, your Wi-Fi router, your phones, because that really, really is going to be an exponential improvement. And then again, all of the things we've already talked about, all the things our experts have already said.
Houses and go test them?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what she was talking about, dirty electricity. There's like things, there's gadgets that you can use to calm that down, but
Yep.
you're gonna talk about you going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, sure. So, yeah, all the things we've already talked about have to be managed as well. And then, you know, I like to end with one of these slides because everybody asks me about this all the time. Chips and pendants and harmonizers and all of these things. I'm not against them, but it's just if you want to spend your money to try, sure, it's your money. I don't endorse any of them because if I have my meter here, let's see what's going on in this environment right now. So that the sound of this meter tells me what the exposure is. That's mostly a cell tower, which doesn't surprise me because there's one right over there. So I hear a cell tower and I hear phones. Those are the big ones. So that's what we're exposed to right now. If you have a chip on your phone, my meter does not change. It does nothing. The numbers are still there, the frequencies are still there. So I can't scientifically verify that that harmonizer is doing anything for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not, but we just don't have any way to know for sure. So I'm not comfortable saying, yes, use that chip, spend your money on it, and it's gonna protect you because I can't say that that's gonna happen. It may improve your symptoms, and that's great. But the other piece of that really bothers me is if we all put chips on our phones and then continue to use our phones 24 hours a day, what does that do? It creates more demand. Now we have 5G. What about your pets? What about the birds? What about the bees? You know, I mean, it's not, we have to think about it holistically. So again, if you want to spend your money on these, fine, but I can't really guarantee that they do anything. And this is just a video of Dr. Klinghardt, who's talking about, basically they did an experiment with a bunch of chickens. They had a chicken coop that was very high in EMFs. They put a harmonizer device in there and all of the chickens were like, oh, I feel so much better, and they're hanging out by the EMF sources. But there was a couple of chickens that wouldn't go near it and they kind of hung back towards the corner. And the chickens that thought everything was great ended up dying prematurely, and the chickens who were trying to get away from the EMF source lived significantly longer. So the takeaway of that is it may improve your symptoms. It doesn't mean it's improving the oxidative stress that's happening. So, I know we don't have a lot of time and we want to get to questions and all that. So yes, I do go into people's homes, and as we have questions, and I'll hang out if you guys want to talk about any of that. And I realize that was a lot of information in a short amount of time, so thank you for hanging in there.
And she's gonna have a booth back there for those that I do have to honor my Spanish-speaking patients that are trying to walk in here, but and some are in the back, and so we want to start them. Now, lastly here, is there any specific questions that maybe you need answered really quick? Yes.
Just one more call to action. We really need you to show up on November 17th. This is a big deal, guys. Bring a sign, go down to the Boise City Hall. I don't know how many people are gonna let in. But also, we raise some money to acquire an attorney. So you can do that on Item 1 for Safe Technology, and there's a webinar there that goes much deeper into it, and my show will eventually be, that I was doing tomorrow, will be on there as well. This is the time where we need to have some action. Okay.
All right, and so anything else? Okay, so there's a lot of information, and I know you guys will have time to speak to them in the back. So Dr. Newsom will be there. He has his products, his book. He's doing book signing, and so his beautiful wife here, Gina, is also going to be back there. And then of course you have David, and you have Kathy back there. And so I don't know if I have any more of these raffle things, but again, if you want to fill it out before, like 10 seconds to fill it out before I do this. All right, so let me go ahead and grab the first one really quick. So I have Julie. Yes, so you win a book, and number 2, Rose. Okay. Rick Burton. Awesome. You said 5, right, Dr. Newsom?
Yes.
All right. And I have Soledad Rodriguez Paz. Awesome. And lastly here, we have Caleb. Sure. Oh, Caleb? Okay. So, all right. So, and you guys can stop with them. And yeah, lastly, guys, if you want to go ahead and fill this out to get checked again for the chiropractic exam, all we ask for, you can come in, get the exam and the x-rays. Typically it's $180. We're doing it for only a coat or maybe two. And if you want to just donate right now, I'll take anything, $1, $5, whatever we can. We want at the end of, by Thanksgiving to have 500. We're at 222, I think. We have a lot at my house and some here, but the more merrier to keep kids warm. So thank you guys, and if you are signing up for that recipe desserts, talk to George, he'll give you a recipe. So then on that day you can bring, and then like we said, we're gonna feast on good stuff. So, and then take a look at all the stuff, and I'm gonna dismiss you. Before I do that, I'm just gonna pray really quick. Thank you, Lord, for being here and for having these people who are ready to make changes in their life. Just lead them, and thank you for just the commitment, and we give this all to you, dear Lord. Amen. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you can pick whatever you think you would like to make.
Y la gente que está aquí para la clase de español, no se vayan, aquí nomás tomen un asiento acá enfrente.
The idea, this is normally like 9 to
Oh, sorry. Here, stand right in front of it.